There we go.
Hello, everybody. We are live everywhere now. Let us know if there's any issue with um, the sound, anything of any of our setup. Just let us know so we can make
Yes.
sure we fix it if it needs to be fixed. And how is everybody surviving the holidays? Because we are in it. We are in the holiday season. It is December 9th.
I'm going with not well.
Not well. Why?
I have not put a single decoration up, which is very unlike me. I normally put 5 trees up.
Why 5?
Because I like Christmas. I normally like Christmas. And I have a big house, so I have room.
5 is a lot. I know your cats have their own like domain, their own compound. I have one cat. Yeah, and they get their own tree.
They get their own tree usually.
What kind of tree do they get?
It's like it's really cute. Like it's a little 4-foot tree. I have a bunch of 4-foot tree. I actually have like 5 4-foot trees. I just didn't put all of them up last year. And so they get their own little 4-foot tree that's pre-lit. And then I put, it has like cute little like miniature stockings on it. And then some like Winnie the Pooh ornaments and stuff that's like, for my other trees, they're generally themed. So my cat tree is kind of like crunchy.
Crunchy how? Like
typical 90s, nothing matches kind of like, and I don't do that
so
with my other trees.
I like that. That's kind of how mine is most of the time. Like kitschy.
Yeah.
Kind of like, just like a mishmash of sentimental things is what mine is.
Well, and I think when you have kids, especially young kids, like that's just kind of how it is.
Well, right now I have the kids and the cat who does like attack the tree. So there were anything that was glass or metal, like heavy, was not put out this year. Last year I didn't put out any ornaments. I just put out the tree.
I remember that.
Yeah. So this year I did decorate with some ornaments that are not valuable. Some of them are beautiful, like wooden ornaments, handmade in Europe, but they're not breakable, right? So like he's not going to hurt them other than dropping them, and they won't break if they fall because they're solid wood. So those are fine. But I cannot light the tree. I'm not comfortable lighting the tree yet because he does get into it, and I'm scared he'd gnaw on the wires. So right now I have like these little spotlights that I bought for my kid's like 5th birthday. He was doing Sonic, like glow in the dark at this like local place. And so I bought these little spotlights and I put them on the bottom of the tree in red and green for the kids to like kind of see some light in there. But yeah, it's not the same. I don't like love my tree. We actually bought this unlit tree last year.
Oh, okay.
And it's smallish and it's just like kind of plain because of the cat. I have a beautiful pre-lit Christmas tree. I don't do natural trees. I don't like it. I feel like it's wasteful. I also worry about all of like the fire hazards, especially because it's so dry here when it like, like it can overheat. I don't love the pets like drinking the water because of all the chemicals in there. So there's a lot of reasons why, like, as much as I love a natural tree, in like Ruidoso or Cloudcroft, which is like nearby, which is like a beautiful, like very green wooded area, I love to see them there. But like here, I'd rather just do my made in China tree that I can use for years and years and years. And then once I'm done with it, I can give it away because they're usually still in such good shape for so long.
They are.
That I feel like we can really use those over and over again. But yeah, no lights, which sucks because it's like at night.
Yeah, you want to see that. Like it's very calming and comforting, and yeah, I get that. I don't think I have plugged in trees in my cat room before, but I think the past couple of years I didn't. just out of like an abundance of
Of
caution.
caution, exactly.
Yeah.
And you have older cats too who are smarter. I
Yeah.
feel like my cat he's actually really good, and he only now attacks the tree if I'm hanging another ornament on it. He's like, "Ooh, we're doing this again." The
Uh-huh.
day that I put it up, he was all over it, right? Like, oh my gosh, couldn't get enough of it. But now that he's kind of gotten used to it being there, if I approach it and mess with it, then he's like, "What are we doing?" But
Yeah.
otherwise, I don't think he spends any time in there. And I've been working from home all day today, and I've not heard him mess with the tree once. I do think the kids are messing with the tree more than the cat.
I can
And
see
they
that.
already asked when the presents are going to be put under the tree. And we went to Disney this year. So we went to Disney World for like 2 weeks. It was very
Yeah.
expensive trip. Um, it just, as much as you try to be responsible at Disney, you can't. So that was the Christmas present for everybody. Like that, all the souvenirs we bought, all the things we did, that was Christmas presents. So my in-laws did send them some presents that I have to wrap this week and put under there. But I'm scared because they're at the age that I feel like they're going to open them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I could even see maybe more Noah than Mila, but like trying to like sneakily open it and rewrap it kind of.
That's what I used to do as a kid. So I know
Same.
exactly. So I know him well enough to know that he would totally do that. Mila's not like, she doesn't have the malice yet. She'll develop it,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but she's like
Yeah.
still little. But yeah, so we do have the elves to help us with that though.
So the elves.
So whomever's joining us that didn't see, this is the weekly pet roundup. We do this every week about a different topic that's kind of trending. And this one is something that I recommended just because it's not trending as much as it should be. And it's the elf on the shelf trend, right? These elves get into mayhem, and they have these antics every year from like December 1st through Christmas, and there's a lot of different variations of how the elves behave, but a lot of what you see online on social media is like them getting into messes. And a lot of these, my mom thinks it's adorable, so she sends me these videos, and a lot of these are very, very cute, super imaginative, super fun. However, they use some really dangerous ingredients for our pets. So I don't know how we aren't speaking about this more. I know for my clients, I've been encouraging them to talk about this topic. They're pet industry businesses that, that they do a lot of marketing that's kind of content marketing where you like share information and best practices and stuff. And a couple of my clients have been putting out blogs about these elves this week and last week. But like I haven't seen it enough. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because while it can be a fun tradition, we need to make sure we're not putting our four-legged kids at risk, right? While we're like making our two-legged kids giddy with joy around the Christmas holiday.
So I just want to say, before we get into the whole like pet part of this, the reason that I am not a big fan of Elf on the Shelf is because there's some rationale for the idea that I don't what it's Sandra something, I don't know who created it. So Elf on the Shelf has only been around since 2005, and somehow a lot of people, like it is so ingrained in tradition that like people don't remember a time without it. I remember a time without it,
Oh,
but
I never had it. I never had
I've
it. I had
never
no plans of implementing it in my home.
I never
Yeah,
had
I
Elf on the
had
Shelf.
zero interest in it because it wasn't part of my tradition at all.
But the marketing behind this came out strong. It has always, from the very beginning, said a Christmas tradition, and some of the lore behind this is that because she apparently said, and I was trying to find it on the website, but apparently she said that like this idea came to her from an elf from her childhood, and fae or fairies are, if you have any like knowledge of folklore, and I think it's wise to maybe dabble in it just a little bit. We don't know what we don't know. Like
Right.
there is so much out there. Like literally there are like UFOs over New Jersey right now that people are like, what is going on? Like it's okay to be like There's stuff that we don't know or
Oh, for
understand in
sure.
this
I'm
world.
always that person who says, I have no idea, could be, could not be. And if there are UFOs, I just don't want them to appear to me. Same way that
Yeah.
I feel about ghosts,
I don't want to
same
get
way
like
that I feel about witches.
Kimberly. Sorry. She's just her. So it and I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of the UFOs over in New Jersey right now, but I just say that to say that we don't know so much, so very much, that nothing surprises me anymore. And I don't take anything for like, I try not to be super naive about anything. I'm like,
Correct.
okay, I'm going to bank that. And I'm going to say right now, I don't know that I believe in that, but I'm going to bank it.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Like I never say never.
So fairies specifically, if you get into the, so I went to, so I've seen like from people who have masters in folklore and things like that. Like I have some weird stuff in my algorithm. Now I went to Chat GPT.
I have some weird stuff in my algorithm. I love that so much. You do. You probably do. I can only imagine.
I went to Chat GPT and I said, act as if you have a master's in folklore and tell me why we do not want to invite Faye into our home. And it gave me a whole bunch of reasons. Basically, they have their own sense of justice, etiquette, and logic that can be not just foreign, but dangerous to humans. Inviting them into your home might obligate you to unknowable or unreasonable terms. A casual welcome can be interpreted as permission to stay indefinitely or to act without constraint. They that kind of sums it up, but there's a lot more. Like it says they demand reciprocity. They are literally the definition of give them an inch, they will take a mile. Misinterpretations, a lot of misinterpretations between humans and fae. Like you have to be uber specific and try to dot your I's and cross your T's and not leave any loopholes, because they will find a loophole or make a loophole because they have their own set of rules that they live by. And they're very mischievous,
Yes.
tricky creatures.
Mhm.
And basically the kind of lore behind Elf on the Shelf is that this elf that this lady grew up with, she made a deal with this fairy and said that she wanted to be rich. And the elf said, let's do it because I want to be powerful. And so she has since made many millions of dollars and put this fairy in many homes, millions of homes. And basically, people cannot remember, like, he is ingrained in Christmas tradition. And people, like, he is almost as powerful and all knowing and all seeing as Santa, who could potentially also be considered Fae. So I
I
just
love you
think.
so much. You are such an oddball. I love you so much. You are such an oddball. This is not at all where the conversation was
I know,
headed in my head, in my
but
mind.
I had
This
to
is
throw that
not
out
where we were
there.
going to start, but I love that we're starting here because I'm not a huge fan of Elf on the Shelf either, and obviously giving like a carte blanche to like a creature in my home. I've already done that with Satchmo the angry dog and Van Gogh the sweet cat and Kira the mess of nerves dog. So like I feel like I don't want to give up any more of my power to this home full of, like, we have 7 creatures in this home including myself. It's a lot
Oh
already.
my gracious,
So
yeah.
we don't need any more like influences here. So the Elf on the Shelf was given to me. I have 2 of them. I don't have one. I have 2. I have
Okay.
a male and a female.
Okay.
I was given them by my friend Debbie, who used to live up the street from me, and she gave me a ton of hand-me-downs, including these elves. And she was like, "I'm gonna give them to you. My kids already outgrew them. Her kids are teenagers now, and if you want to use them." So I didn't think much of it. My kids, I think we started it last year. And in my case, only because I was like, I already have them. What do I do? Do I use them? And like, they're becoming trendy. So I was like, I'll use them. So what we do with them in my house is they're actually the bringers of the candy of the advent calendar. They're the ones who bring the candy. That is it. They are not informants for Santa Claus. They they're not sneaky, but they don't communicate in the same way that we do, so they kind of leave messages. So the first day they came, there was only one. I could only find one of them. The other one, I only found his hat. So I put her out. Her name is Molly. And I put Mo, his hat, out. And I didn't put anything else. So then Noah went to school and told them about that. And he said that apparently he came back and reported to me that apparently there was a snowstorm in the North Pole and a lot of elves were delayed.
Oh, I
So,
see.
yeah. So maybe that's why we only got his hat and not his whole being. The next day, he showed up, him and Molly just hung out, and they just, when the elves are there, they know that they open up the little box of the advent calendar we have that I got at TJ Maxx or Home Goods, like not a fancy thing. They open it and there's candy inside, one piece for each. So that's it. That's what our elves do. However, I do find that the elves are good motivators.
Okay.
And that's where you get stuck in this like situation where you almost fall with this informant situation. Like, I don't like the big brother idea that my kids are being watched. Like, Santa Claus is not watching here. Like, I don't have that message for them. I feel like that's creepy AF. I don't like that. Like, my kids should feel that they are safe and not being watched by anybody in their home. That is how I feel like I should be able to live. So I feel like my kids should feel that way too. They know where we have cameras. Like, they have a camera in certain areas. And so I tell them, like, don't change in front of the camera, blah, blah, blah. So I really do like try so hard to not make them feel like they gave up their privacy, even if they're 4 and 7. But the other day, I had the elves kind of do fun things. The first night there was only one. The second night they were together. The third night, I can't remember what they did. The fourth night, they were like sitting on my stove with like a little bowl of like red noodles. It's like this Mexican candy that's chili based and like chopsticks. So they were like cooking or eating. Okay. And then I put them fishing in, like, I have a fishbowl glass. Of course I do, because I'm boozy. And I put like I made like a little fishing rod and I put some Swedish fish in there. And so it said like gone fishing. And like, that's what they were doing. They were just fishing. The next day Chris was gone. He traveled this weekend. He just got back, went straight to pick up the kids. So thanks, Chris. So I could do this. And he left me obviously in the middle of Christmas, so much stuff going on, blah, blah, blah. And so I just put the 2 elves in the fishbowl the next day, like the fishbowl that they had been fishing from. I just put them in. And then my kids started being like, Mila's not that into it, but Noah really is. He's 7. And they talk about it at school a lot. So it's like very much ingrained in the tradition, like you said, because they talk about it constantly. And he was like, why are they in the fishbowl? Like, what are they doing in there? And like, Noah's trying to like read between the lines, figure stuff out. And again, I'm limited with how creative I can get because of my pets. And we'll talk about like certain things that people are doing that concern me. But then Noah started being like, oh, I think, and I said, because they hadn't showered in a minute. So I was like, I think they're trying to tell us that we all need to take baths. Like, we all need to take showers or baths. Like, let's see if they're happy with us doing that. And so they took Mila took a bath on Saturday. They both took showers yesterday. And so I put away the fishbowl, like it went away. Like, so they took their shower. Awesome. And I don't say for sure that that's the message. We kind of try to interpret it and see like where our creativity takes us. That's the only thing I could come up with, being like, oh, you guys, maybe you need baths. And then yesterday we have a little thing that I bought at Home Goods that's like the naughty or nice scale, and then in the middle it says needs work. So I put them next to that, and I put it on needs work just so that I can encourage them to, do their best and behave well. But the elves, I guess, are the ones delivering that message. And Noah was like, elves are mean. I hope you leave. I don't need work. And I'm like, I think you do. Like yesterday you did this and this, it's that you got in trouble at school last week. So maybe they're just trying to remind you that like there's room for improvement and you can do it. They believe you can do it. So that is what they did yesterday. So here are a few things I have planned for the remainder of the Christmas holiday. And mine don't get into messes every day. I don't have time for that. My kids also sleep with me, so it's hard for me to like sneak away because they're so spoiled when it comes to sleep. And like, I can't fight them anymore on sleep. They won't sleep by themselves. That's a whole other topic for a whole other conversation and probably a whole other audience. But I just can't fight with them anymore about sleep. So I just like lie down with them. I eventually just like fall asleep, or I work while they fall asleep, whatever. So tonight, because Chris is back, I'll probably do one of the more creative things that I have. And it's, I got a potato, and I'm going to draw a little scared face on the potato, like, ah. And I'm going to put it next to a cheese grater, and then on the cheese grater, and then I'll put Pringles on the bottom so that it looks like we're making potato chips with that potato. The chips, I'll probably add the chips in the morning when I let the dog out before the kids get out of bed, but the potato, it's going to be whole. Like the cat won't get into it, I don't think. So I'm okay with that. I don't love leaving stuff out all night just because you don't know what your pets are going to get into, especially a cat who has access. So I might just like cover it with like a Tupperware and then just like uncover it really quick so that they don't catch me. Cause again, it's like this balancing act and so stressful for no reason because it's so stupid. But that's one thing I'll do. And then I have another idea for like Skittles. You're supposed to put like a plate with like Skittles, and then you just leave a note that says like, use hot water to create a rainbow. And like, so you like put the water in, and then it's really cute. It like creates a rainbow because of the dyes in the Skittles. And then the Skittles go to the trash. So that's good. Hopefully, or at least they're white and they don't have all the dyes. So if they eat them, I don't know. So those kinds of things are fine. Then there was really cute one that my mom sent me where it was like the little tiny Oreos. The elves were stuffing them with toothpaste. And that was like where my first red flag went up. Like, what's in that toothpaste, right? Because xylitol will kill your dog. We're not sure how bad it is for cats. Like I've never been able to see like how bad it is for cats, but it can't be good. So even a lick of it, I don't want my cat getting into. Like, even if it may not kill them, I don't really want to take that risk for a dumb Christmas tradition. Especially because this is like you said, like this fabricated tradition. So what I decided to do was put like hand cream, and like my hand cream is totally safe, like totally. And so I'll keep it covered, but I'll have like the Oreo kind of open, and like supposedly the elves stuffing the Oreos with hand cream instead of toothpaste. Because again, the toothpaste could be super toxic. Another thing that they also get into is like stuff with like shaving cream. You don't want shaving cream all over your house, like, because your cat's gonna walk on it. And like we've talked about before, walking on it is the same as ingesting it because they're gonna lick it. And like what chemicals are in there, what like surfactants and like nasty stuff and soaps and stuff are in there. We don't want that. We want our pets like bellies to thrive, not like be like covered in like who knows what chemical from shaving cream. So that's a no-go for me. There's a lot of stuff with like gum, for example, and like you cannot find gum anymore. Really, it's hard to find without xylitol in it. So like it's like the idea is it's kind of cute. It's the elf sitting with like a balloon from its butt, and it says don't swallow your gum. So but the way they have it set up is with like pieces of gum that like he chewed it. So you could still do that with a balloon, assuming your cat won't break, because my cat likes balloons and he likes to break them. And then the concern is that he'll swallow the rubber balloon. So you could still do that if you have like a dog and he or she won't get the balloon. You could still do that, but just skip the gum, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that has to do with candy. The only reason that I felt comfortable with the candy noodles is because they're chili, and my cat won't touch that. Like they're spicy.
Yeah.
Even my daughter wouldn't touch that. That's like it's like hot, spicy, like gummy noodles. They're Mexican. It's Mexican candy. I'm in El Paso, so I find Mexican candy everywhere. And so like anything Mexican candy with chili in it, I could probably use, because they don't use xylitol for those. They're definitely not sugar-free. And they're not appealing at all to my pets. Even though I feel like this guy, Satchmo, who's sleeping over here, he's the little schnauzer. I feel like he would eat it before even tasting it. So the other challenge is not just what's on the counter, it's also what falls on the floor, right? Because my cat will drag stuff and then he'll drop it. And so it's not just my cat that's in danger, it's everybody.
Yeah, it is. And you have to be very aware of your pet as well, because even if it's something that they normally wouldn't eat, I mean, there are pets that have like, was it pica?
Yeah, exactly.
Or, I mean, there certainly are instances where, an animal will get into something just because it's there to get into it. I mean, there's so many.
Smells edible, therefore I'm just going to swallow it and then I'm going to ask questions later. And then it's like, oh God, that's terrible, but it's already ingested. And also the elf itself. So like, I don't have high chewing dogs, but the elf itself looks like a chew toy.
It looks like a toy.
Totally, I mean, it would be a great chew toy for a dog, because it's like kind of like heavy on one side, kind of like floppy on the other. So it's like a lot of textures, a lot of fun, and it's stuffed with stuff you don't want your pet ingesting. It's got plastic on the head, like face, the little, I mean, a lab could easily swallow the hat like this before you even know that it's gone. So that is a huge concern for me. It's not a chew toy, like, at all. And it shouldn't be like placed somewhere that your dog can think it's a chew toy. Not only because of the dog, but also because your kids will lose their minds, because nobody's supposed to touch them. Otherwise they lose their magic. So your kids will be upset, and like, nobody wants that. And the dog's going to be in the ER, and you're going to be like, why did I do this to begin with? So it really is like this dumb tradition that I like kind of like started. My mom thinks it's so cute. The kids really enjoy it, but I haven't like gone full throttle. I'm like a doer. I'm perfectionist all the way. Like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going in and I'm doing it to the best of my ability. I'm phoning this in because I don't want to like have to like one up myself every day coming up with ideas, right? And like, it's already enough that my kids are getting a piece of candy every morning for a month. Like, that's not necessarily great, but that's the advent calendar tradition. So I have to be super careful with what candy I put in there. And I have to be super careful about what candy what I use for the elf like mischief. And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some where I am going to do this one. There's one where you tape like your toilet seat and you put cereal in there and spoons, and like the elf will just be having breakfast in the toilet, which it makes the kids laugh. But again, like, it has to be done in a bathroom where like none of my pets will access it, and I'll close it and then they'll open it and be like, oh my gosh, there's cereal on the toilet. I'll come in and clean it up immediately. So you have to be like on it. If you're going to do these things, you have to be on it. And obviously we don't eat any cereal with like xylitol in it. The cereal we would eat is like some healthy version of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if my dog or cat got into it, but like, I'd be super careful to just clean it up before they got it. Another one is like sprinkles, like holiday sprinkles in your sink. And like, you fill the sink with holiday sprinkles. I'm not doing that. Like, that's such a waste of money. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not filling my dirty sink. I mean, I clean my sink every night, but still, like, I'm not filling my sink with sprinkles that I have to pay like $8 for at the grocery store.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, you are wasting so much
wasteful. And time.
I remember I was trying to look it up because the country singer Brad Paisley, years ago, I don't know, he may not be very active on social media anymore, but he used to be, and they used to get really into Elf on the Shelf. And that's the thing that I think, like, a lot of adults get into it and then put elves in very adult situations.
Oh,
Um,
like what
uh,
happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of situations?
yeah, like I scrolled back far enough to where it was like, okay, his elf on the shelf is with like found in this like bed with Wonder Woman. Like it's a whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're
No,
with
we're not doing that. We're not doing any of that.
what is this one?
I haven't gotten that creative. I don't the other day they were in the mousetrap game. So they just like sat and played like a board game. So that was easy.
Yeah.
My elves are pretty low key. And keep telling my kids like if they make a mess they're gone. Like I will throw them in the trash. And
I see.
my son said, you know, I think they can come back in. They're magic. And I was like, yeah, well, I'll drive them somewhere else, or I will flush them down the toilet. My son knows I'm not going to do that because he understands plumbing enough to understand why I wouldn't do that. But I was like, no, I'll put them in the mail and send them back to the North Pole. Like I don't want them making a huge mess. They're not allowed. And I keep talking about them like kind of like meanly, like these dumb elves. Now I like they're sitting here and now I can't move them and like they're in the way. And so like it's not like
Yeah.
I'm glorifying the elves. They're kind of annoying, but I am just it's like finding the fine line between this pet safety and having fun with the elves has been really a challenge for me. Like tinsel and ribbon is a no-go, right? Like there's a ton of stuff
Okay.
that you can
Yeah.
do with tinsel and ribbon, but you can't do that with your cat, especially
No.
gum and candy. When I tell you I went all over Target looking for not sugar-free gum, like even juicy fruit now is sugar free.
Really?
Yeah, like everything that
Wow.
we grew up with that was like 25 cents for the 5-pack, those all are now sugar free and have xylitol. Chocolate, can't do anything with chocolate because like my cat won't probably eat it, but he might drop it. So no chocolate.
Mhm.
Like cookies and stuff, like my cat would he does, I mean he doesn't have a sweet tooth because he doesn't taste sweet like any cat,
Yeah.
but he
Right.
likes to taste things, he likes to enjoy things, so I can't leave anything like that out, so I'd have to do that like very early in the morning. The sprinkles, they contain artificial colors and like I don't even want my kids having that, let alone my pets.
Yep.
The raw potato itself, like I don't want my pets eating raw potato. That is not a healthy, digestible meal. Like shaving cream, like I said, raw dough. There's some where they're like, you know, baking bread or whatever. You don't want your pets eating raw dough because like they could get, if they eat enough of it, and a lot of people don't know this, is that they could get alcohol poisoning from the yeast like fermenting in their stomach. So you definitely don't want any dog or cat eating raw dough. So like if you're making bread or you make your homemade Play-Doh for these
Mhm.
elves, put it away. And
Yes.
then the
Okay.
milk, like some of them have like milk and cookies and stuff, and like milk is fortified, so like most milk that people are buying is fortified. I don't want my kids or my pets eating that. I mean, my kids drink milk at school. It makes me crazy, absolutely crazy, because we're supposed to be dairy free because of his sleep apnea, because dairy causes
Mhm.
inflammation. So I'm definitely not buying that, but also if I leave like a cup of milk out, you know my cat's going to be drinking that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I see one that's actually kind of cute. I have to share it. So, one of the elves is on the mantle with a slingshot, and the other elf is stuck to the window.
That's cute. Okay, that's see, those are harmless
Yeah,
if it
you
doesn't
could do
fall in the
that.
middle of the night and your
Yeah,
dog doesn't run
you'd have
around with it in
to.
its mouth.
Yeah, you'd have
Yes.
to really
My
get it.
dogs are not chewers, so I feel like that would be fine for me. But again, it's like this risk you take, right? Like you wait, you know how many times we've woken up in the middle of the like we've woken up and been like, "Oh my god, the dog pooped inside." But how did that even happen? You know what I mean? Like when did we
Yeah,
not let him out? Like when was the last time he peed? Did we let him out in the yard too early? Blah, 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 blah. And you're like figuring this out. You don't want to do this like every day during Christmas season because of this elf. So I came up with some ideas for like elves to do more pet friendly stuff. And
oh, okay.
so I have some recommendations for people. Well, first of all, have all the mayhem occur in one room. So like maybe your
Yeah,
elves can take over like the guest bathroom and they can go in there and see, and like the door remains closed, and you teach your pets like, ooh, you know, we've banished them in here, or they've chosen to be in here because of the pets. And like, this is not safe for pets. So this is why they closed themselves in here and did this, blah, blah, blah. So you're also teaching at the same time. Like my kids know that chocolate's not safe because my daughter is such a mess, but they don't know that toothpaste is not safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've tried to explain it to them, but we try to buy stuff that doesn't. So it's not like everyone has. So they're little and they can't understand like yes or no, but like all chocolate is off limits. The other day, Mila did drop a piece of chocolate on the floor and it was so tiny, but it was like one of these Hershey's. And I was like, there's hardly any actual chocolate in there. So I'm fine. And they were all like, no, it's super serious. And I'm like, actually, in this case, it's not. So I don't want to like confuse them. So I just say like, just toothpaste is a no-go, period. And then also like having an elf that's not so naughty. Maybe it could read books. Maybe it could walk your dog. Like you just like have the elf sitting like by wherever you keep your leash and like be like, oh wow, like it walked the dog or whatever while we were sleeping or something like that. Where it's like, you know, harmless. You don't have to use ingredients for it. You already have it in your home. You have a leash and like the, you know, the elf like sitting there, you know, with maybe some poo bags like open. I don't know, like something that's not like necessarily dangerous. Like I don't think my pets would get into a poo bag at all. Like a roll of poo bags. Like if it's all closed up, they wouldn't even look twice at it. Or keep your elf in your entryway. Like have your elf get into trouble out there. It's a really good way to get your kids up early and out of the house in the morning. You know what I mean? Because like if they're gonna go out to the entryway, they're gonna need to like get out of their PJs, get out of there, like and go put on their coats and stuff. So it might like motivate the kids to get up and like go out. Mine right now, they're only in the living room, family room area, dining room, family room area. And again, I'm just limiting what ingredients I use. But if you really want to go all out, if you have pets, you really have to come up with like plans A and B and C, because doing that, like doing the Oreo stuff with, you know, white toothpaste is not gonna be safe at all in a pet home, because even if you don't have a counter surfer, the pet might be tempted to surf the counter that night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking, like, I was trying to think of some other things that might be interesting or cute, but like, I guess it again depends on I think most people, even with pets, do decorate their trees, but like have the elf decorating the tree. So like every night there's like another row of ornaments or something,
That
and
is
they go up the tree.
cute. I love that idea. That's a good one.
I don't know. I was just because that's pretty innocuous, but also could be part of the. I don't know. I still don't want it in my house, but
mine serve the purpose of bringing the candy. And like what
Yeah.
I do with the candy advent calendar is actually I take the small candies from their Halloween bags right after Halloween and I use those. So really, I'm not buying candy for this purpose. I did buy a bag of something recently, and I put Rolos in there because I had bought like a bag of Rolos for something else, or like a bag with like different candies for something else, and they were like, ew, the elves left these like a little, and I was like,
You don't
what?
like Rolos?
They threw them away. And I was like, you could have asked me. I know I like Rolos. Like you probably won't catch me eating anything Hershey's, because I was born in Ecuador where we have like really good chocolate. Like, you know, in the Latin culture, we eat and drink very good chocolate. So for me, like Hershey's chocolate is terrible. So anything Hershey's, you're not going to find me eating, but I will definitely tell you, Rolos, I would eat a whole bag of those if you give it to me. So I was surprised that they didn't like it. But then if they come to me and they complain about the Rolos, I'm like, well, take it up with the elves. I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And if they forget one day to fill that little box of chocolate or candy, I say, you guys must have not deserved them. What did you do that like they didn't put candy in there? And they will leave a note the next day being like, open 2 boxes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Last year they left a lot more notes. This year they're just kind of like being like subliminal.
Oh, yeah, I was while you were saying that, I was like, I wonder if you could also use it to, like, I don't know, get them to do things that are more creative and not on devices. So, like, you have to present the elf with, like, a drawing or something every day to be able to get your I
That's
don't know.
cute.
So that
I
they're
like that.
spending time actually doing something with their hands and being creative versus, like, being on their
Yes.
tablet or whatever.
Exactly. No, I love that.
Um,
And my daughter says that coloring is her hobby, so definitely she would love that. Yeah, you could even like get like a coloring book and have them do one page through Christmas,
yeah.
and like every page that you do, you get, a surprise from the elf or whatever. Yeah, the whole like informing Santa, that like I feel like that's isn't that the way it was originally intended, or is that like something that it evolved into?
Yeah, no, I think that was kind of the original intent was, like, the elf is there as, like, Santa's helper
Santa's
kind of thing.
helper, like big
Yeah.
brother, looking over, like
Uh-huh.
watching you at all times. Yeah. I don't love that concept, and that's why I was never gonna do it. But,
Well, I mean, that's the
Molly,
concept
Molly,
of Santa anyway, right? Like,
exactly. Well, I guess if you spin it that way, I we don't really talk about Santa a lot, and I'm gonna be honest, I feel bad lying to my kids about these things. I know it sounds really dumb, and our parents lied to us constantly when we were little, but I don't like lying to my kids about
hmm.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as we were starting this talk today, I was thinking about back to when I was a kid, and I've been doing a lot of that, like, thinking lately. I think that's because we
Inner child
obviously
work.
I have been, but also, like, not only is Mercury in retrograde, but Mars just went in retrograde, and so there's a lot of that coming up for a lot of people. Um, but I started thinking about it because I was the oldest. We had two older stepbrothers, but they were like they kind of did their own thing, you know? So as far as like me and my siblings, how we interacted with each other, I was the oldest. And I was pretty young when I started realizing that all of these things weren't real, the Easter Bunny and Santa and all of that. And I got in a lot of trouble for trying to tell my younger siblings that it wasn't real, that it wasn't true. And I kind of look back and I'm like, but I don't think I was being malicious. I don't think I was trying
No,
to
you
like
were just like
burst
being
their
like, don't
bubble.
bother being good. There ain't no big guy with a bag of
Well,
toys.
no, like I think it was more than that. I think it's like I found this out. I'm not lying to you, by the way. Like
Right. Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
make
you
lies. I
felt
don't like
betrayed and you didn't
yeah,
want to
and I'm like, I
continue the
don't want that.
betrayal.
Yes. And but I got in a lot of trouble because I wouldn't just say like, "Oh, I don't believe." Like I would actually pretend I was asleep and wake up and then catch my mom putting stuff out. Or it's like so I'm like, "See, I told." Like I remember one time I was like, "See, I told you. I told you the Easter bunny isn't real because you're putting this stuff." So like I was that kind of child.
You sound
And
like Noah. Noah would totally do that.
but I do think it was just a but also I'm a Libra, right? So I do think it's
He's a Virgo.
this
Mhm.
like sense of
What's right and
justice.
wrong. Yes.
Well, yes, and,
Yes.
like, I know what's right, and I know what's wrong, and I'm not gonna let my siblings you know what? Like, I think that's what
Yes.
it was.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's true. What's funny is when I was growing up in Ecuador, I was born in Ecuador. I moved to the US when I was 4 or 3, almost 4. And apparently, and I don't remember this at all, but like when I was very little in Ecuador, it wasn't Santa that brought presents, it was El Niño Dios, baby Jesus brought you presents.
Okay.
I can't speak to all of the Latin culture on that. I can't speak to all of Ecuador on that, but in my family, it was El Niño Dios who brought presents. And apparently, my sister had been a jerk at some point. I was like 2 or 3. My sister is bit older than me, 2 years, 2 months older than me. And she had been a jerk at some point. And my uncle had a birthday, and she like wanted his gift, and it was his birthday's this week actually. Next week actually. So she had like gotten in a fight with him over his birthday present. I think she had broken something because she couldn't have it. And my mom was like, El Niño Dios is watching, in Spanish, obviously. Yeah. And watch it. Be careful. You're not going to get any presents at Christmas. And somehow my mom was young, and my mom's hilarious. My mom was young and was at the market in Ecuador. And apparently they had, because it was Christmas, like fake poops. This is where this story is going. Okay.
Okay. Because like we never did, but we were like threatened with coal in our stockings. So kind of a similar,
I guess. So like, I guess it was like a gag gift so people could like wrap up. It was like a poop. And I do remember this because I saw it later in life, like when we were living there, like, you know, how like you store stuff away and like it came out, and I remember seeing it, and it was like a poop, like a plastic poop that was kind of like, think of like soft serve ice cream shape. And there were two of them. One of them had corn in it and the other one had lentils in it. It was really gross, but kind of hilarious because it's obviously plastic. And so my mom, after this conversation, which is really traumatizing now, I would never do that to my kids. Now I think it's hilarious that she did this, but we didn't know. So she put those under the tree, one for me and one for my sister, instead of any presents on whatever. It's always Christmas Day. So in the Latin culture, we celebrate Christmas Eve with our gifts exchange. Is Christmas Eve with your family, and then the only thing you open on the 25th is whatever Santa or baby Jesus brought you. So we had gone to bed late. Everybody's happy, can't wait to see what Santa brings. And my sister wakes up early, runs down. And then what the story that I've been told is she comes to me at like 2 years old and says, "Oh, you have to see what baby Jesus left for us." Like, she's mean. She was like getting me all worked up so that I could go see the poops under. And I was the only one who cried about it. My sister thought it was hilarious. She was a devious 5-year-old. So she thought it was hilarious that she got a poop, and she thought the poop was great. She thought it was the best gift that baby Jesus could have given her. But I cried because obviously I was like, I'm getting a poop instead of like Barbies or whatever it is that I wanted at the time. So yeah, these things are kind of gross. And like, we would never do that to our pets. Instead, for our pets, we're like, I'm going to buy some like amazing thing for my pet. Like, I was just looking at Bear's Bites does like holiday meals where she like freeze dries green beans and shrimp and steak and does all this stuff and for the pets. And here we are like putting poops under the tree or coal in a stocking for kids who don't behave well. And we all know kids want to behave well. So like, I have a kid who's very difficult, and like we're having him evaluated for a bunch of stuff just because he's very disruptive in class. And like, I know, even though he's my kid and I know like he pushes everybody's buttons very effectively, like I know he deep down really wants to do really well. And so like, I hate the idea of like Santa's, you didn't get this, you got in trouble at school, so Santa's not coming, or you're getting it at coal or whatever. And I feel so bad for kids because I do think that children, like dogs, like cats, they really want to do the right thing, right? And like, they don't always have the tools to do the right thing. And as they get older, right, like most of our pets are like the mental age of like a 2-year-old, right? They have the cognitive ability of like a 2-year-old. Even when they get to 7 years old, they still like don't have the cognitive ability of a 44-year-old, right? And like, we expect them to be like grown-ups after a certain age. With our pets, we have a little more grace. I think we give them a little, well, the good ones of us, the good pet parents give our pets more compassion and more grace. But like, our kids get all these like threats around the holidays, and like you, I just don't like it. I feel like I gotta go with it because I have friends who like don't do Halloween. They're very Christian and they refuse to do Halloween. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for them. I love Halloween. I don't take it that seriously. I love a ghost story. It's fine with me.
Putting a tree in your home and decorating it is a pagan tradition, but let's go with
Exactly. Well, and a lot of these friends may not even do Christmas trees. They may just do like, Jesus,
Right.
celebrating
Yeah.
the birth of Jesus or whatever. I don't know what their Christmas traditions are, but I know that they don't do Halloween. And I have nothing but respect for them for, like
Oh,
having
yeah.
that conviction to be like, we don't celebrate that holiday because we don't like the idea of putting like dead bodies on our porch to be like, happy Halloween. And I get it. Like, it's dark, but I love it. But I kind of like, I haven't found that like one thing that I'm like adamant about. Like, I'm not doing that with
Yeah.
my kids. Like, I literally have like the night before Christmas, like a little garland behind me for the night before Christmas in my office because I love everything Christmas related. I love the elves. I think they're adorable. Like, I definitely don't use them to their full potential like a lot of parents do. And I think it's so fun when those parents go all out and do fun things. And those kids
Mm-hmm.
will have awesome memories
Yeah.
of that time the elf like filled the toilet with cereal, right? Like, they will think that that's so funny and they'll go tell their friends. And like, I also do worry about the kids who don't have this happening at home and they feel like left out, right? Because like, where it's
Es-
every trend, there's always
Especially
somebody
if,
who's not following it.
yeah, if they're making such a big deal out of it at school, like school is hard enough for
Agreed.
kids, right? And then to feel left out about one other thing, yeah, that's gotta be
It
pretty
sucks. And
hard.
like, it's the same thing with like Santa bringing like really expensive
Mm-hmm.
gifts. Like, in
Yeah.
my house, Santa does not bring technology.
Mm-hmm.
Santa does not buy iPads. Neither does
Yeah.
mom. In my house, you get whatever old phone somebody is no longer using. That's what you get at my house. And you don't get to call it your own. It's still mine. It's my old phone. It's not yours. But a lot of stuff that happens around the Christmas holiday really does like stress us out, first and foremost,
Yep.
takes us away from like what we really want to be doing. Cause like, I guarantee you last night when I had to go move those damn elves, like, I just wanted to stay in bed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stay in bed. I didn't want to go get those elves and move them somewhere else. I couldn't delegate to my husband because he was in Philly. So I had to just get up and do it. And like, there's a lot of stuff that we could be doing that we're like focusing on these dumb things,
Mm-hmm.
decorating our front porch. Like, yesterday I put out my Christmas lights and my home feels cluttered with all the Christmas decor. And like you, I feel like, what am I doing? But I get why you don't want to do it. Like, you're just like, it's not your priority right now. I have like little kids, so like, I feel
Yeah.
obligated to do it,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like, I do wonder if I didn't have kids, if I'd just be like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know. Like, I
know.
might just have a tree.
I There were like two things that I wanted to say off of what you said that were just like, I'm trying to remember. One of them I do remember about Baby Jesus because Talladega Nights is like one of my
I
favorite
love that movie.
movies. And all I kept thinking every time you kept saying was Baby Jesus was like
Baby
that
Jesus.
that's the Jesus I want to pray to is little baby Jesus. Thank you, little baby Jesus. Like he's my favorite. Like I want.
Oh, baby Jesus.
That's
He
all I
is.
could think of.
I love that movie. I have to watch that and Anchorman. There's so many I want to watch, like rewatch. But yes,
I'm
that is
trying to
a great movie.
remember what the other thing was, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think we do put so much pressure on ourselves, and I don't want to do that this year. For the first
And
year ever, by the way, like ever.
ever in your whole life. Well,
Uh-huh.
and I also think that like the reason I wanted to talk about this topic is because I feel like, I would hate to see somebody trying to do so well by their family and their kids and like come up with this amazing, fun elf, antic only to end up at the emergency vet and maybe
Yeah.
not even know why, right? Like, you may
Yeah.
not even know that xylitol is dangerous. You may not even realize that the peanut butter you picked up for this elf has
Mhm.
xylitol in it. So if there's one thing I can say to any parent that's participating in Elf on the Shelf is please be aware of the ingredients, materials you use for the elf antics, please. I
Yeah.
beg you, because the last thing anybody wants this holiday season is to end up at the emergency vet or worse with having to say goodbye to a pet because it got an intestinal obstruction, it got poisoned because of xylitol. It choked on some kind of toy or thing, and like what would be more traumatizing for your child than their beloved pet being killed by an elf?
Yeah. Well, and I think that kind of brings up just for me, it's easy for me to sit back and say this, not having kids, because I have definitely like preached in the past about like if you are gifting anything that is edible, don't wrap it and put it under the tree. There are lots of things because your dog can smell so much better than we can.
Yeah.
They're going to smell it. They're going to get into it.
Yes.
Very possible. Like yes, there are some good dogs that are not going to get into it, but do you want to take that chance?
Yeah.
But I think just in general, it can be very overwhelming for a parent to just be a parent. And oftentimes, how something would affect their pet is not a thought.
Top of
Like it's
mind.
just
Exactly.
it's too much. It's too much mental load, and it's not thought about enough. And so there are I like that it was one of the things that bothered me the most about being a dog trainer is that people don't take their pets into consideration with a lot of the things they do. They just want their pet to not do XYZ, to stop doing XYZ. Like, I mean, just one example is like you leave your shoes at the door and your dog chews them. Like, okay, the simplest solution here is to not leave your shoes at the door. And I
Yes.
get that, like, if you have small children, they're not gonna understand that at all. You know what I mean? Like, I get
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
also, like, these are
No,
things.
my kids have been putting their that's literally the only thing that they really do is put their shoes away. They put them it also my house is kind of set up in a way that makes that easy because I have a den right on this and like you walk into my house, there's a den. That
Mhm,
room is like a catch-all room. We have shoes in there, we have a litter box in there, we have some storage in there. So like it's set up nicely. We have like a TV if we want to work out. That's where we have our like free weights and things. So it's like a catch-all room, but it's easy for my kids to open the door, put their shoes away, and close the door again.
mhm,
Since we got the cat, we actually have like a little kind of latch that
mhm,
only allows the cat in. Cats don't chew
mhm.
shoes for the most part, so not a big deal.
Yeah.
But the reason the latch is there is because the dog would go into the litter box. So you
Mhm,
do like management is so important when you're
it
adding
is.
a pet. Like 2 years ago, like before Van Gogh came, I wouldn't have had to worry as much about a lot of things because he's a cat.
Mhm,
He can jump on a counter. You have a little Yorkie. Like I'm not so worried about the setup of like the cookies with the xylitol toothpaste, right? Because like
mhm.
your Yorkie's probably not getting on the counter,
Yeah,
probably. But
yeah,
you have a big dog. Those
yeah.
Oreos that are there are going to call the dog's attention. So you have to kind of figure out what you have and what would work for your family. And honestly, like most people have no idea. My mom is the one who sent me the videos of like these ideas for Elf on the Shelf. Look, they're trending. They're all over the place. People are getting like it's like that kind of like um gang mentality. Like you're almost like forced to like do this or you're not a good parent. And so my mom is like sending me, look how cute these are. And like she's been a pet parent. I
Yeah,
guarantee
well,
you she never even thought about
yeah.
how these ingredients or these things could be dangerous for pets.
I can imagine that social media is what catapulted Elf on the Shelf
Oh, for sure. All these
because
videos.
it is so much about look what I did. And I've got to top this last post that I saw. And so I can definitely see where, um,
Yeah.
and I mean, more power to you as long as you're being responsible. More
Yeah.
power to you.
Well, I have a friend in Miami. Her name's Terry, and her kids are grown now. I think they know that Elf on the Shelf is manufactured by their parents, but they're super festive. They have like a whole their dining room becomes like a whole Christmas village with all these like things. Like they're over the top Christmas. And like they always went over the top for their kids when they were little. And they still to this day, the elves still get into antics, right? And like the kids are older and the kids still love it. And it's part of their tradition. but I just feel like it doesn't have to be part of everybody's tradition. They also have like one dog. I know she had a Great Dane for a long time, and maybe the dog was super chill. A lot of Great Danes are like super chill. Like maybe the dog didn't even look twice at the elf. But like you got a lab, you can't do all that she does. You probably can't even put up the Christmas village with a lab. Because the labs eat inedible things. You know what I mean? So you really have to know who you have and what you're doing. And like one of the biggest things is obviously knowing how these new ingredients, these new products could put your pet at risk because they're only tested for safety in the most minimal level when I say safety for human consumption, right? Like, do we even really know that xylitol is safe for us when it's killing dogs? I don't know. Like, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I think there's definitely problems with it for sure. I know that dentists have been sold on it for dental health, but yeah, I'm not so sure either.
I mean, just because it helps one part of the body doesn't mean we can like fry the other part. You know what I mean? Like we've done that already with fluoride, right? Like we can't just be like, "Ooh, this helps prevent cavities," but it like burns our brain or like it like causes blind. I'm giving an example. This is not what fluoride does, but like let's say that like xylitol causes blindness to 80 years down the road. Do we really care about our teeth more than our eyes? No. So we don't know yet, but I'm not convinced that it's super safe. And I just want people to have a happy holiday season without, emergency vet visits because those will happen inevitably, right? We talked about food last year. So if you want to go back to the feed, the Pet Parenting Reset, she's shared all of our lives. So they're there from last year. We talked about like dangers of like feeding people food and like cooked bones and other things that could be very, very toxic to our pets or very dangerous to our pets this time of year. And we're just going to add Elf on the Shelf antics to that list.
Yes.
So just know that you don't want to end up at the ER, at the vet. Nobody needs that kind of expense. Everybody's tight on cash these days. Nobody needs that. And the vets don't want you there.
No, it's so difficult to get into a vet on a good day. Please just be extra cautious. And
yes, for such a silly thing. I mean, it was so sad to see any pet get hurt because of something so silly. So anyway, we're going to come back on Monday and I don't know what we're going to be talking about.
One more this month. Is that what I'm good for
whenever. I'm not traveling. So yeah, the 16th. And then, we're not going to do the 23rd or the 30th just because you know what I'm doing. Speaking of my children ad nauseum, I am moving my kids into their own rooms because they keep fighting now. They're in the age where it's 4 and 7 and like, that's my toy. No, that's my toy because we have a playroom. And now I feel like I need to, first of all, get rid of half of the toys in the playroom, give them each their own room with their toys in the room so that everybody knows what is theirs, what is rightfully theirs. And everybody can start learning how to make their beds and how to take care of their things and stuff.
I wonder
they do that kind of, but not enough.
I wonder if Elf on the Shelf can take a bunch of their toys back to the North Pole to give to other boys and girls that need them.
Elf on the Shelf is going to have to get over my son's cold dead hand. I will tell you that right now. My kid, so every single weekend I get a box and I donate or throw away. Like my trash can for the past 2 weeks has been full of just stuff that's like not worthy of donating. And it's just trash now and I can't have it and nobody else needs it. So throwing away or donating. And every single day every Saturday or Sunday when I do that with my stuff and my husband does it, we do it with household things. We ask our kids to do it. And like Noah the other day it was Mila, came down with like a toy this big. I can't remember what it was. And I was like
a Polly Pocket or something.
No, it wasn't even a doll. It was like an accessory to a toy. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, you guys need to do better. And every week I ask them, and hopefully I'm hoping that they will understand it as they get older. We are on the border with Mexico. They do know that the life is very different in Mexico. They see it literally. We drive and you can see like what the houses look like in Mexico. And it's not what they're used to seeing here. But my kids, because of the cost of living being so low here, we can do so much for them.
Yeah.
we are probably too generous with them, and my in-laws are too generous, and my mom's too generous, and Santa's too generous, and I've come to the conclusion that we need to start being very careful with that. Like, where now I feel like they're going to start realizing before, and I feel like even Mila doesn't notice. She's gotten so many hand-me-downs that I don't feel like Mila's the issue. She loves everything that's a hand-me-down. Like, she loves it. If her friend Ava gave it to her, she thinks it's the coolest thing. So like Mila, I'm not too worried about. Noah is more like money focused and like thinks that we have so much. And I'm like, whoa. The only reason we have what we have is because we choose to live in a place where it's very, very affordable. If we lived with the same salaries in DC, we would be strapped. So just know, you know what I mean? Like, we would definitely not have a house like this, and we would not do all these things. And he's 7, so now he's starting to learn. So I'm hoping that with little nudges, maybe not like, elf on the shelf robbing and entering, breaking and entering into our playroom. But at some point, I would hope that they are ready to part with things. I do think that moving them into their own rooms where they see that there's finite space and it's not going to be comfortable, hopefully will encourage that too. Hopefully I can teach them practicality and generosity all at once. So for the 16th, if you guys have any recommendations for a chat, whatever you want, pet related, or not, we can talk about anything.
Okay.
Just let us know.
I'll think about it for sure. And please leave some suggestions in our DMs and we'll go through them. And thank you very, very much. And I'm just, don't invite Faye into your home is all I know to say.
Too late, man.
Too late. No, I get it. But thank you, Isabel, for bringing so much incredible information this week. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing crazy information over here with Faye and like mischief and like unknowing or what is it?
I thought I had to, I thought I needed to bring something knowing that I don't have Elf on the Shelf or kids to participate in Elf on the Shelf. So.
Yeah, but you have so many kids in your life that, but like that was super cool. Like info. I really do appreciate it. I think you're so odd because you're so fascinated by all these things. I love you. Obviously, you're one of my besties. But I think it's so funny that that's what you led with. I would not expect anything less from you because you are into all that stuff. And I love that you opened my eyes to all that stuff too. Like I'm like you said, I don't deny the existence of UFOs in New Jersey right now.
Yeah, it's a thing. Apparently the government is like not even going to shoot them down. Like, I don't know. I guess you'd have to be scared. That's my thinking. Like, I would be scared, I guess.
I'm not for shooting them down either. I say just
like
we'll deal with it if they like
find out what it is. Apparently they're like SUV size. So they're not just like some dude at Costco went and bought a drone. You know what I mean? Like
okay, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. Now I'm going to go do some Google. Wait, send me a podcast I can learn about this from. I'm going to go walk my dogs. I need to hear about these UFOs.
All right, y'all.
Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.